ML Soul of Detroit.
A new dramatic series starring
ML Elric.
According to Webster's Unabridged Dictionary,
Podcasting
it is the killing of one human being by another.
According to him,
podcaster
it's just the beginning of a dirty, dangerous job that doesn't end until it's
Sean Windsor's
found. But I like it. Maybe because I don't like
show
killers.
You asked it around, you're trudging around my shirt. It's gone.
What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric back with a full house. 3 jokers over a pair of deuces. And I said deuces. I don't want anybody to mishear me. But we are very pleased to have Mark Fellhauer back with his firm hand on the rudder and his supple calves on the floor. And I'm now stealing Sean's material because it is so good. I'm the Carlos Mencia of basement broadcast.
I thought you were going to say Menares.
No, Carlos is. I love Carlos. They're afraid to let me on the Carlos and Sean podcast because Sean doesn't want to get teamed up on. Carlos and I
You're
agree
welcome
that
anytime.
Everything sucks until it doesn't. Then it's great.
Well, and everything's a conspiracy against you, that you're the center of the universe, which makes sense because that was a great intro. And when you mentioned the podcast starring, ML Elric, right?
Yeah,
So
15 times.
And nobody else. Nobody else is here. It's just Mike. It's like the Rockford Files. It's just
show.
James.
His name's in the show. That's
It's
fine.
just James Garner.
It's not that you guys aren't being featured. I mean, it's sort of Spinal Tap and Puppet Show.
I'm happy to be Pluto and your son.
It should be the ML Elric show featuring ML Elric with special guest ML Elric. Just make them all 3.
I think that's great. It's nice to have everybody back though, right? And by the way, I am
feels like we're onto something.
I
here.
am bummed that I missed a ride in your Riviera today. That would have been fun. I've been having some phone issues though. I don't know if you know, but the mothership is cutting our phones and changing the way we do things. And
Wait. They paid for your phone?
They provided what is it, iPhone 7s.
What?
and provided the.
No wonder they're losing money.
Yeah.
Well, we've had those for. It's funny. Every time I had to replace it when it would wear out, it would be the same phone. It's been a 6 for 10 years, but that's fine. No, we've had company phones for what 15. I probably had one 18 years, so those days are over
I
now.
don't think anybody does company phones anymore.
That's why they're phasing it out, right?
Neither do they. But no, I've always paid for my own phone because I change employers, but I never want to change numbers.
Yeah.
And also because when people talk to me and they say, hey, am I just talking to you? I'm like, yeah, you just talked to me. My boss doesn't see the phone bill. They don't see who I call. They don't see who texts me. If you're talking to me, you're talking to me. And I think people appreciate that. But, I took Teresa to the place where I get my phone because there's a great crew at the Xfinity store on Woodward in Midtown. And so I took her in there and introduced her and said, what deals do you have to add her onto my plan? They said, oh, you just missed the Apple deal where we could have given you a free, high-end phone. I was like, boy, when I told you to go in December, you could have got a free. Okay, well, now you can get a free Samsung phone. Well, I'm not sure I want to switch to Samsung. Okay, but you can still get a free updated iPhone SE. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll think about it. And that was like 2 or 3 weeks. I said, in 2 or 3 weeks, they're going to cut off your phone. Oh, I know, I'm going to get down. I'm going to take. Well, yesterday I'm trying to call and I can't get through because everybody got cut off because you guys knew it was going to happen.
I got cut off yesterday, but I did not. I'd missed the email. So, look, I knew it was coming, but I didn't see the email with the date. And then the Michigan State stuff happened, and then I lost power for 4 days, 4.5 days, whatever. And it was the hectic last couple.
I gotta say, that's a great excuse. I'm gonna start telling people that.
I don't
my
want
phone
to
got cut off. That's why I didn't answer.
I don't want to
equate
equate the stuff, the Michigan State stuff, to the power, but it was just a crazy couple of weeks, and I hadn't seen the email, so my editor emailed me yesterday morning and said, "Hey, you all set for the phone?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And the next thing I know, it was dead.
So if the Michigan State shooter had lived, do you think he would have been charged with messing up your cell phone?
He might.
Is that a misdemeanor? Or
That's not what he.
No.
Was that not
Well,
what
what was interesting?
I don't
So
like that you. I
they
don't like
allowed
that
us-
Sean did that because
they-
nobody thought that.
No, they allowed us to.
and the guy did enough stuff without putting that on him.
No, it's interesting though. They allowed us to
power loss to the loss of lives.
No, not at all. But they allowed us to file for an extension, but they wanted reasons. So those are the reasons I gave them. So,
Did you say I want to? I don't want to.
I wish.
reason.
I didn't want to sound like Mike. I don't want to.
Jeez.
But
I'm very amenable to reasonable requests. There's just very few things that qualify as reasonable.
But
requests.
I was heartened when I was told a lot of other people lost their service yesterday too. So that I wasn't the only idiot.
Yeah, it's very
space cadet.
It's
is maybe a
very
better
reassuring to know that I work with a bunch of nitwits.
Space cadet.
So
We're journalists. We don't do tech. We don't do
You don't deal with deadlines.
we don't look at our emails unless it's a source of the very thing we're working on. That's it. We don't look
at
at
your own time frame.
in our
Whenever
own,
you get a story
in
done
our
on
own
phone.
head. Yeah.
Wow, they're probably
Talking
not.
about.
They're probably not proud to admit it today, but this show is brought to you by Luke Nowacki of Pinnacle Wealth Strategies and David Hall of Hall Financial. We'll tell you in a few minutes how they can save you a bundle of money.
On your phone plans.
Well, so you have enough money to get your own phone, you bum. But the one thing I'm thinking about Luke and of the market and how crazy things are, and how everybody on their own thought, oh, Bitcoin. Well, I put $10 into Bitcoin, and today that investment is $4.14. So don't do it on your own. Get an expert. Talk to Luke, and if you need
Those
to get
experts
some
will
money,
say no anyway.
They say no. What?
Well, most fiduciaries will say no. It's not a real thing.
Oh yeah, no. What I'm saying is, if you're looking to secure your financial future, call Luke. Don't put your money in Bitcoin because that's not a strategy that's going to work. Even though everybody thought it would.
I think it is so adorable. You bought $10 worth of cryptocurrency.
Actually, I didn't. It was free. PayPal
there you
told
go.
me if I bought
Wait a
$10 worth of Bitcoin, they'd give me $10.
So you're saying his.
So I'm actually $4.14 ahead, but it was a free $10.
So what are you complaining about?
So you're saying his calves are supple, and now you're saying he's adorable. What's happening here?
No, I just think it was cute that his venture into cryptocurrency was a whopping $10.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of,
And not my $10 because I listen to people like Luke who say that's foolish.
by the way, Teresa should get reimbursed moving forward for at least part of it, so you can take that money and maybe
you get
invest it.
If you submit your bill, the company will give you $50 a month towards your cell phone. Which, if you're doing it right, you may end up making a couple bucks a month off of that.
If you're on, what do you mean? What's the matter?
It's a
I'm just
business
shocked.
machine.
I know. Sure.
You know what? They pay the people that aren't down there, that aren't in the office, right? And they have to have the phone to do their job, so they want to help with that.
Well, you could write it off as a non-refundable business expenditure too.
You could do that. Who knows? And
Yeah, but
you
you gotta have like $25,000 in deductibles now to use any of those business expenses or charitable givings. That's the Trump tax reform. Basically
the one that you can do is
ensured that we're all going to take the standard deduction.
the one you can write off is when you drive from Ann Arbor to Ferndale every week.
I think if you reach a certain threshold. By the way, I drove from East Lansing.
No, I've written that off. So
I drove from East Lansing to Ferndale today and hit some of that traffic that you're always.
why'd you go
talking
through
about.
Ann Arbor?
Because there's something where my map program said take Silver Lake Road and you'll save 14 minutes.
Oh.
So I did.
Because that seems way out of the way to go to Ann Arbor.
Well, I mean, it wasn't Ann Arbor. It was M23 to something, so it was towards Ann Arbor.
Oh yeah, no.
Which is why I offered to pick you up in the Riv.
No, thank you though. So that was very kind. This 696 was back. By the way, have you done any investigating into this, or maybe just let me just ask your memory. When's the last time, if ever, you've seen orange barrels throughout a winter?
Oh, that's
Because
a good question.
I feel like I've seen construction all winter long.
They've been a little behind.
It's kind of a mild construction season. I mean,
And normally
kind of a mild
it's
winter.
put away, right? Normally it's
Yeah, because asphalt won't set. at a
cure.
certain-
Yeah, exactly.
And concrete, you can't do concrete when the ground temperature is. My buddy Mitch knows all this.
Here we are in February, and 696 is 2 lanes in right now. So at least in parts of it.
Yeah, but see, people bitch about fix the roads, and people are fixing the roads like, I hate the traffic. It's like, you can't have one without the other.
No, for sure. But psychologically, you're prepared that that's
You
what
want
your
to have
summer
children,
and
but
spring
you
and
don't
fall.
like intimacy with a woman. You have to
You're
have both.
prepared that for part of the calendar, that's your life, and you're going to deal with it. But in the winter, I don't know. It seems, deflating, demoralizing.
When I lived in Chicago, they had this thing that I always thought was kind of a good idea. They were redoing the road anyway, right? So instead of just plowing the road, they sent the scraper through that actually grinded up the road to clear the snow. And so they were taking the top layer off the road at the same time they're clearing the snow. And I thought, in theory, that's really genius, except when you're not just pushing
Where's
snow
it go?
up the road, you're moving at such a slow pace
Yeah.
that traffic was at a standstill. And so, yeah, we got ahead of the construction season by taking the top layer of this broke-ass stretch of 94 off of the highway, but now we can't move anywhere. So
Where does all that rubble go? It just piles up somewhere?
they recycle it. They grind it up for new aggregate.
Okay.
This message brought to you by nobody because it's
MDOT.
very dull.
Where did you think it went?
No. I was just thinking if they're scraping and the snow is mixed in with it, where
Well,
there's usually
melt.
there's pushing the snow off to the side, so that would mean they're pushing the aggregate off to the side, right?
Oh, yeah. No, they're filling up the bins on the back. So not only is it slow because it's churning it up, but it's also filling in the tub on the back of whatever this device is.
Oh, so they're a little bit more modern over there. That's nice.
Well, as I said, it didn't really work as good as anybody hoped. But
I was up in the Keweenaw one year, and they suck the snow and put it back, and then haul it way out into the woods. And I was like, yeah, that's nice. Why can't we do that?
Why? So you lost power for 4 days, you said?
Yeah, and my sister-in-law lost it for 5.
Okay. And what did you do? Did you go to a hotel or did you stay at home?
I stayed at home.
You did?
I stayed at home. When we lost,
The Free Press put you up in a hotel.
we
They pay
lost
for
it,
everything.
We lost it a couple of weeks ago, and went to a hotel that night.
yeah.
Sean's house is powered by a bicycle that his wife rides. And when she stops riding, the lights start to flicker,
No, it
and
ge-
Sean yells at her.
What a
It
miserable
got cold.
4 days.
Maybe it was 3 nights and not or whatever. But anyway,
How
it was.
cold did your house get?
It got down into the low 50s, high 40s.
Oh my God. Well, at least that $25 you're going to get from DT will make you feel better.
No. It's got to
What?
be 5 days.
Are you shitting me?
It has to be 5 days. Yeah, it's very difficult to collect that because I had the power out at my house for 4 days, and Teresa and the girls went and stayed at my mom's house. I stayed in the house because I'm stubborn. It was 30-something degrees in the house,
God.
and I was going to work, and then I'd come back, and it wasn't so bad. But I thought, well, wait a minute, my dogs are at 30 degrees all the time, so that's not really cool for them, except when we're all huddled up to sleep. And I also forgot that Sophie had a fish.
Well, you know what the thing was,
really?
and we
Didn't
don't
make
have
it.
to.
He made it for 3.5 days.
You know what the thing was,
The
and
last 12 hours was just.
Poor guy.
we don't want to make this a power show. We'll do that in a couple of weeks, or a utility show. But I will say this: DTE, as everybody knows, struggled with updates, and they were getting a handle on who was going to have power when, and they were really kind of not confused, but they just couldn't figure it out. And so each morning there for a couple of mornings, you would get you look for an update, and it would tell you, and then it wouldn't happen. So it was like risk assessment in terms of your money. Do you want you get up in the morning? Do you want to go to a hotel, or do I want to go buy a generator? And I think no. They say it's probably going to be on today, so I wouldn't, and then it wouldn't happen. Well, finally, I went and bought a generator because we've had a lot of issues.
Wow.
We've had our next door neighbors bought a generator a few years ago because of the way their yard is, and they have a pump. And if they lose power, they flood out, and the damage of that is way more than what a cost of a generator is, right? So, and insurance doesn't cover all of that.
Plus, if your pool overflows, sometimes it floods their backyard.
Yeah, because we have a pool, and
And when you guys, sometimes the irrigation for the vineyard you have, sometimes when that sprays over into their backyard, it can cause some runoff.
But I was literally, it was at 6:00, and the store was closed, and I was ringing up the generator, and then I get a call from home saying the power just come on. Literally, as they just loaded the generator.
Did you return it?
Filled it. No, I decided to keep it. We decided to keep it. And then yesterday, when the ice came back, was like, oh, it was.
God, I have that generator.
I've got that generator out there. I'm not that worried, and I got one big enough to run like the furnace.
It's such bullshit. In a major metropolitan area, people have to think about having generators.
You heard them, right? Like I still heard generators
bullshit.
This morning. You could hear them kind of out.
No,
just on the horizon. That sound.
But how bad is that? When this is a pretty busy area, lots of people live here, and it's a public utility. Yet you have to buy something to ensure, the safety and of your family. Because the public utility won't fulfill their needs. It's ridiculous.
When we converted our house to solar, we're still on the grid. So the downside is because we feed energy into the system during the day, and then we buy it back at night. And ideally, it's a wash, or we bank some power. I had a generator hookup put on my house because we are still on the grid.
Yeah, the transfer switch.
And we would get it's like a big plug on the outside. But anyway, we lost power like 4 or 5 times a year for a while. It's been a little better the last couple of years.
Same with us.
But I just never bought the generator because I'm so resentful. Mm-hmm. Why should I have to spend hundreds of dollars? And I think there's somewhere between $5,000 and $1,000 to get a serious generator.
No, to get something that you can plug into what you're talking about, the transfer switch, and run your furnace and your fridge and some other. Yeah, it's at least $1,000.
So I just feel like I should not have to spend that kind of money to provide redundancy to a system that actually charges me $10 a month to provide them with power from my solar panels. And so I'm just too stubborn to do it. But it does seem that there is a way for the power company to provide maybe some redundancy and generate a little goodwill by saying, we are going to subsidize generators. Like if you want to buy a generator, we'll provide you a low interest loan so you can buy a generator that you can pay off over 5 years at 0% interest. They sell all this other shit where they'll guarantee repairs for your furnace and your refrigerator, and you can get insurance for your appliances.
Money on that.
Yeah, but they could make money off of, hey, we'll sell you generators at 1% interest.
Oh, by just having it at 1%?
Yeah, or they buy 10,000 generators for $500 each and sell them to you for $600 or something. But they could. I think they're just kind of worried that if you start saying, "Well, there's an alternative to the power company," well, hell, I like that. I'm done. I want to cut the cord.
There really isn't.
I've got friends that bought
generators suck.
Serious generators, like this huge generators. Those things are like $12,000-$15,000.
Yeah, they're powered by natural gas, and
they'll power your whole property, right? I mean, everything. You don't have to, your AC, everything. So.
But the people I know that have those live in more rural areas around here. I'm talking about
or businesses
in the city of Detroit.
My neighbor has one, so it's not very rural there. Although
but the other thing
feels
too.
Like it sometimes.
But here's the other part of this equation to me. And again, I'm sorry we're making this a power show, but I read some quotes from
delighted actually.
And part of our coverage from a professor at the University of Michigan who said, "Look, the climate circumstances are setting up that we're probably going to have more ice storms." And the storms have already gotten more violent, right? Tornadoes and so on and so forth. So the extremes on either end are probably going to keep coming and maybe get a little bit more exponential. So I thought, fuck it, let's get a generator. No matter what DTE does, they're the kind of in Ann Arbor we had a half-inch of ice. It was the worst. It was the worst in any part of the southeastern Michigan. If we get that again, I don't care unless DTE buries everything, which that will not happen in our lifetimes, right? We're gonna have it again. So
I may be cynical, but I don't see them doing anything to change the power grid. And I was really appalled on Saturday driving around, and I never lost power, knock on wood. But driving around and listening to the radio and hearing ads from DTE on this past Saturday, basically saying, "Hey, be patient with us." And be nice to your linesmen. It's like, well, nobody's mad at the line workers. I mean, those guys are busting their ass.
Oh, no kidding.
No, it's like a block party when they show up because you think, hey, the juice is. That's the other thing.
Why are they spending? I don't think they were PSAs, where a station would run because it was, during the day on a Saturday. That's not when radio stations are going to run. They actually had an ad purchase and placed it.
No, and DTE, which is, I mean, listen, timing is everything. The news that they requested a new rate increase comes out just as all the power goes down. I'm like, what? Maybe that's just bad luck, or maybe that's a sign that you guys should just friggin' start fixing shit instead of jacking up the prices on us.
They won't. We have the worst power grid, and they will never fix it.
Well, and as people may recall, this show a few years ago, because I know people remember every episode, we're talking about the one rate increase where not only did they increase the rates for everybody, but they tried to make a serious cut to the rate they were paying to people who generate their own power and provide it to the grid. So all this talk about, oh, we want clean energy, we want this. And now they're saying they want to increase rates because, oh, fewer people are using our system and stuff like that.
Well, they're a public entity that's also still publicly traded, right? So they have shareholders they're responsible for. And that's the problem. I mean, it's all about the money.
Yeah, this is about return to the shareholders. And DTE has done some great things in Detroit. Beacon Park, if you've seen it, is wonderful. And the DTE Foundation supports a lot of really good causes. I mean, they are,
That's a write-off.
in that regard, a good citizen. But that was something where they hired a consultant and said, hey, will you take a look at our operation? The consultants came back and said, you guys really need to do some stuff for the community. Yeah. So even somebody had to tell them.
Providing them electricity.
Well, that would have been something that, I would trade Beacon Park for that dead
Everybody
goldfish.
would. Everyone would.
I mean, that fish's blood is on their hands if fish have blood. I think they do. They must have something.
But you don't get a write-off if you theoretically do your job. But you do if you make a park, right? And you have a charitable arm.
I did see St. Motel there for free, so that goes a long way.
I'll use the write-off to build a bunker and stock it with cans. We got a generator now. We might as well just go. We might as well just keep going down that road.
ML, doesn't that just trend for him?
I need a shotgun.
Sean Windsor become a prepper.
John's bunker.
I need a shotgun.
He's been going that way a long time.
I have a stepbrother in Oklahoma who's got
there you go.
a bunker the size of our houses. I mean, he does very well. He lives out on a ranch.
Will you please grow a huge beard too? Just do the whole roll.
But his
So stepbrother, is this Belvin's son?
biological son, yeah.
And he's a survivalist?
Well, no, not.
I kind of did see that coming.
He's a
survivalist.
He has an accounting firm and is into nursing homes, and so. But he has a ranch. He lives outside Norman, Oklahoma, and he raises cattle also. But his wife cans and does all that sort of. But they have this bunker in this huge, beautiful home, and there's a bunker that's enormous that's stocked for you could live down there for 100 years, and it's quite
waiting
impressive.
for the apocalypse.
They did it for tornadoes.
That makes a little
that
more
makes sense. Did he also make a wooden statue of Barry Switzer using a chainsaw? Is it that?
No, he actually went to Ole Miss, so he's although he does go to Oklahoma games, but his brother, my other stepbrother, went to Oklahoma, so he's a big Sooner guy.
Okay.
In any case,
named Daryl.
no, but I think we need to get bunkers and generators, and we all just need to get.
No, I refuse.
So the problem with that can thing is that
I need a shotgun, though. I think
it's only good for so long, and so as the expiration dates come up, do you have like some let's eat all our canned food party?
Eat all our peaches.
That seems pretty horrible. Eating a bunch of shit out of tins that's about to go bad.
canned peaches are the trick to surviving zombie movies, right, or apocalyptic movies.
Well, in those movies, I would be the guy in the first scene that just offs himself because I don't have the fortitude to live through a zombie apocalypse. I have no desire to deal with that.
That would be kind of a drag. Although, did you ever see the movie about the it's based on a graphic novel about the I think it's called Warm Bodies, about the girl who falls in love with a zombie and brings him back from being a zombie to being a real person.
Really?
It's really, really funny.
How?
It's a dark
the magic
comedy.
of a vagina? I mean, how?
I think it's something about when his heart gets activated, he slowly becomes a human
It's
again.
science.
And he has this wingman who's kind of a dork that he still hangs out with, who's a zombie, but he meets a nice girl, and it's. I think it's called Warm
Well,
Bodies.
I tell you what.
really,
All right, this was a movie.
Let me just.
What year did this movie come out?
within the last 10 years.
What?
Oh yeah, I watched it with my daughter.
Look, you're going to be able to come over and watch that movie in my bunker with my generator, right?
Have you soundproofed the bunker so I don't have to listen to the generator running?
Well, yeah, we'll be underground. The generator will be up. It's got it has exhaust, right? So we can't,
Okay. Okay, I'm glad you thought about this.
But the problem is, if you keep it above, then people, in those kind of times, generators are like gold, right? So
Yeah.
you got to figure out a way to secure
come after
it.
you.
That's the next step.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
you
figure
need
out
to
where to
have-
secure ours because it was not cheap.
Well, that's the other thing is
It was a Honda, right?
you're going to need to be armed because people are going to try and get in that bunker. And if you're a pacifist, they're going to say, well, thanks for building a shelter for us because we're taking over.
No, people. Yeah, they're going to want
They're
to,
going to put you out. So
especially if you have a little fuel. Yeah, no.
better put a pillbox right by that so you can, sweep the area when the horde comes.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, I'm not advocating more weapons, but it's something to consider since you've gone the generator and bunker route. I hope you also don't have like a schnauzer because I can think other people with bunkers.
No, but I just couldn't believe. I called Ann the other day. I said, I cannot believe we're getting a generator. I just never. It never.
Because you
occurred to
shouldn't
me.
have to.
Well, she was
but
glad
my
'cause
next
she's
door
getting tired
neighbors,
of pedaling on that damn bike.
my progressive, hippie neighbors from Amsterdam, right? They have a generator.
Yeah.
But they're like, but you know how those folks are. They can manipulate.
Those folks, what?
The Dutch, they can manipulate water and do all sorts of incredible engineering things, and
Every single Dutch person can manipulate water.
No, they're the best of their scientists.
I know what you mean. They're
Yeah.
good engineers.
They're fabulous.
It's just the way you said. It's like those Dutch people. They can all.
I mean, if they
manipulate
can have
water.
a grid in a country that's below sea level, what the fuck? What can we do?
Which is pretty dumb that they even bother, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, but they still make their shoes out of wood. So
Yeah.
how do you figure that?
Yeah, for
Those
for
people.
tourists.
How do you reconcile that?
Yeah, for silly tourists, they make shoes out
They're
of
all
wood.
high too.
Yeah, do you have any more Dutch slurs
Here,
for
come
us?
over here and buy our shoes we made from 200 years ago. We're wearing them.
We're great engineers while we're high and having legal sex with prostitutes. What a fine neighborhood you live in with your winery
Nice
and
attacking a whole nation.
Percheron stallions and
How did I attack them? I'm
Amsterdam
saying
those
they
people.
they manipulate water in wondrous ways.
wow, we're a little far afield. But I will tell you, when I was at my uncle's funeral,
We're falling behind, man. Come on.
Teresa's uncle's. Well, this comes back to your survivalist. Now, I'm wondering if anybody
Mark
else
would say that
out
even.
No,
there
our infrastructure's garbage. I know that.
knows end of days people, but Teresa's uncle died, Barbara Yanni, and we went to Montreal. And Teresa has a cousin who is a doctor. Great guy. But we're at the visitation. He comes up to me and he says, "Yeah, things are kind of bad. I got a year's supply of food and gold. I'm keeping gold." And I said, "Well, because you think that the monetary system is going to collapse. So I've got gold.
Well, it might.
I've got
but
a year's worth of dehydrated
What
food.
good would gold do if we're running around trying to kill each other over?
Because it's got inherent value. It's the one thing that no matter what.
But gold
that
won't
piece of
matter in
paper-
that point. At that point, it only has inherent value because we ascribe it. It's not going to be something that, like fuel or food or water.
No, but you can use gold to make things.
But I'm saying if the society collapses, though, gold won't be worth any more than the balsa wood you made your model airplane out of when you were a kid. It's just.
I'll trade you some balsa wood for gold if you got any gold.
Well, I'd rather have fuel or canned beans or water that's potable.
Anyways, we didn't get too deep into it, but I just thought, well, this is a very interesting visitation.
Get me to go. I want to go.
Oh, that's a.
Yeah, but I know people. I've heard of people who are ready for the reckoning. But when you find out you're related to somebody who's actually preparing for it, I mean, that's different than preparing for a natural disaster. This is somebody who thinks that the
end times are
Trilateral
coming. Yeah.
Commission is finally going to pull the plug on all this, and Opus Dei is going to kick in, and
Hey, whatever keeps them busy. It's just a hobby.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
It is a hobby.
And you'll
Like
be coming to them when society falls.
It's no different than
Oh, yeah.
than you binge watching Shetland.
It won't.
Right?
It's except Teresa can't generate enough energy from riding that bike to keep Shetland on. It sort of flickers.
So that's how it is. Does she wear the handmaid's? What do you call that? The not the bobbit. What?
oh,
Or the bonnet?
The bonnet. The bonnet.
like the habit or whatever.
Do you make her wear that while she's on the bike? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, no, I don't make Teresa do anything. I seek her indulgence on a regular basis just so that I can continue to live my miserable existence. She doesn't mess around. Well, if you've got somebody in your family who's...
Wait, what? What?
Huh? Who?
Teresa's the boss. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, she's in charge.
No, I'm not the boss either. I mean, you guys are my boss. Everywhere I go,
Shut
somebody
up.
else
No,
is the boss.
Stop it.
But that's okay with
Not
me.
paying for your phone no matter what
Yeah,
you say.
Can I ask you one last quick infrastructure question,
Yes.
please?
I mean, you're going to.
You could just ask us.
But you're the bosses, and I want to get permission.
Let's
right?
just start
So-
telling him no, ML.
Well, again, I go back to the Teresa. It doesn't matter. No is just like, can I tell
This
you
is just
something
some
no?
random-
Okay, and then just go.
Random
Let's
silliness.
just get to it. Just
How
pull
many
the
times-
Band-Aid.
How many times you guys on a freeway system around in Metro Detroit, and you go under a bridge and you see where a chunk of concrete is missing? You look up there, and you wonder, right?
When is it going to fall?
Yeah, or who's
sure.
it falling on, and does it ever get reported that causes an accident or a death? And there's
Yeah,
probably no.
you see stories every once in a while, but yeah.
You just see all these little things in our infrastructure that probably cause all this problem we have no idea about because they're not compiled, right? Because there's no ledger that somebody's keeping all this in, so you can't look that up.
Look, we just had a major infrastructure issue, I guess, with the derailment right in East Palestine, Ohio. Maybe it's not as much as infrastructure as deregulation, but we've had trains overturned.
That was deregulation, right? Yeah.
It's a little bit of a lot, and it's been horribly mismanaged by everybody since. But anyway, I didn't want to digress into that. I'm just saying we've seen these things happen all over the place, but we don't want to fix anything. We've seen a highway collapse outside Minneapolis. Remember that massive highway?
I was at the
They killed
Vikings
people.
camp in Mankato or wherever it was. I can't remember I was doing a story on Drew Henson, who was
Oh,
trying
I thought you were the last guy cut.
last ditch effort to stay in the NFL. And that happened, and they sent me up to Minneapolis to do news stories on that. That was back when the Free Press used to kind of occasionally cover national stories like that.
Yeah.
And, man, that was intense. That was
Drew Henson a suspect?
In blowing up that
in the
bridge?
collapse? Yeah.
I don't know, but I drive every time I go to Minneapolis for work. I drive over it. Yeah, especially if you're going to University of Minnesota, be from downtown. But
like
go right over
like
it.
the electrical grid, like train derailments, we don't worry. We're not very preemptive about a lot of things in this country.
Where we're preemptive is getting rid of. Oh my God, let's get rid of gender studies majors at Florida universities and stuff like that, because that's what really.
Well, we certainly can't do multiple things at once, right? I mean, there's got to be a singular focus on one thing for like 2 weeks.
I want to hear
and then
Mike's
we'll move on to
thoughts.
something
At
else
some point in the next
for
few
2
weeks, I want to hear Mike's thoughts on what they're trying to do to the university system down there, because that is intense.
pretty wild.
That is intense.
There's some words
much
not
for free
heard from
speech.
Sean on this show very often. I want to hear
Oh.
Mike's thoughts on something. It's usually enough of that.
Well, no, you usually just offer them up, but I really want to hear what you have to say about that, and Mark too.
Hey, study what you want. I mean, that's a beautiful thing about a university.
They're making it illegal.
Sean's point is, that they're not going to be able to study that.
Well, so okay, man, now we're really far afield. But here's my feeling about that, and I really see it manifest in Michigan in a way that's really troubling. I've known the Republican Party my whole life. I grew up in a fairly wealthy community. We weren't wealthy, but believe me, when I was going to high school, the Preppy Handbook was held as a sacred text in much the way that people today hold the Kwame Sutra as a sacred text, also available at
Do you raise your collars too?
nearby. I didn't have a collar, but I would have back. That was back when you had people wearing polo shirts under Oxfords, and the polo shirt would be pop the collar under the Oxford. And I knew a guy who bragged to a mutual friend of ours that he had a pair of socks that matched the color of all of his sweaters, and he had
the Argyle socks. Did you ever wear? Did you ever wear Jordache?
No, but
DoorDash?
Yeah, DoorDash.
DoorDash.
But anyway, what I'm saying is, so I grew up in a Republican community, even though in 1980 I campaigned as a 13-year-old for Jimmy Carter. Let's hope he hangs on a little longer. Then I worked in New Hampshire for 4.5 years, where everybody is a Republican, and I've been around. At any rate, the thing about Republicans has always been local control, that we don't want the government telling us what to do. We are going to, allow you to make those decisions, because the lower level decisions are best made by the people, direct democracy. Great position. It's absolutely the way things should be. But now what we see is Ann Arbor wants to charge people to take plastic bags from their grocery store, and all of a sudden the Republicans in the state legislature say you can't do that, and they rush through some legislation. And then different places want to have different the people want to raise the minimum wage, and then the Republicans in the legislature pass legislation setting the minimum wage to block them from doing it. And so you're seeing more and more Republicans no longer saying, we want you to be able to make decisions for your life in your community, passing these broad sweeping things that cover everybody. And in Florida now, which is a very Republican state, Ron DeSantis won by almost 20% for re-election. You would think that this would be a very Republican place where if you want to have a university where you teach this or that or the other thing, people would say, well, that's not my thing, but if you want to do it, that's a local decision. The market will decide whether that's an appropriate major, whether you can sustain that. And instead, no. The Republican Party is now acting like the big brother party, telling people what they can and can't do, which is something they've always complained about. The Democrats...
They would argue that was local, though, right? That Florida is local to them because they're in control. And it's states' rights has always been a...
Yeah, well, then the UN should decide everything because the UN is local for Earth. You know, I mean, you can claim that big governments are local.
No, I agree with you, but that would be what they would argue.
They're taking the autonomy away from a local government because universities are governed. They are.
It's really something how red that state's become, by the way. I mean, it was been a purple state for for a long, long time.
I think for the right candidate it would change, but Charlie Crist was not the right candidate.
I will say I'm surprised too that they've taken over, that Disney zone.
Yep.
And have now the board is a government appointed board with a lot of donors, by the way. It's like, well, that doesn't seem like government and letting business do what they want to do.
Yeah, well, government telling businesses what to do, that's the antithesis of the Republican ethos, which is the market will decide and you run your business and we want less regulation. So I know we're way ahead on your topic there, but yeah, I mean, to me, I don't really care what you teach. If kids want to take it, they'll take it. If they don't, they won't.
But you know why they're doing it, right?
If we don't get a minimum of 10 kids in my class, we don't offer the class.
Well, they feel like universities are
solved,
bastions of left-wing thinking, and they want right-wing thinking in there.
A lot of people feel that way.
Right. And, well, a lot of Republicans. And they want right-wing thinking in there, and that's fine. I mean, that's understandable from their point of view. That's fine. And I think they're doing it in part because they understand the demographics of this country and young people and how they vote. And they don't. Their message isn't reaching enough young people, so they're going to have to change how young people become a little bit older people. You know what I mean? That's really what this is about.
Well, to me, you don't win hearts and minds by blocking those hearts and minds off from a particular philosophy. Because the other thing is people are going to find. I remember when Kwame Kilpatrick was first elected, and we went from a situation where I could call anybody in the Archer administration to ask him a question, and everything has to go through City Hall. And I talked to somebody who used to be the spokesperson for Dennis Archer, Greg Bowens, and he said, don't worry about it, because the tighter the grip is, the more people will sneak out or slip out between the knuckles. And I think that's true. So these things are self-regulating, but the hypocrisy is
to a degree they are
staggering.
I'm kind of with you there.
It's staggering.
But the U.S. history, do you remember specifically, real quickly, in the curriculum, not the curriculum, but part of the law, it's not a law yet, but part of the bill is that any course that calls itself American history at a public university in that state has to teach American history in a certain way. That may be more, in some ways, troubling to me, unsettling to me, than saying, you can't teach CRT or gender studies or whatever. That's saying we're going to tell you what the history of this country is, even if it's not how it unfolded.
I mean, to ML's point about the market taking care of itself. So I think like 65,000 go to Central Florida, like 60,000 at Florida International. Gainesville, University of Florida is around the same. I mean, huge.
Florida State, probably.
Huge universities.
Miami.
Bigger than anything we have here.
Yeah,
Miami.
Bigger than Wisconsin.
Yeah, biggest public universities are in Florida. I mean, kids want to go to Florida and study. So if you have limitations on what can be studied, more importantly, what can be taught, you lose. There's a little bit of a brain drain where professors might, you know what, I can't teach what I want to teach here. I'm going to go to a different university, and maybe the market follows, and maybe students leave, which then costs money to those universities.
Yeah, I mean, I would think maybe
I'm talking
fewer
decades.
If anything, it'd be fewer out-of-state students coming in. Probably. I bet their percentage of in-state students is really high to start with. So
my point being,
where else can you
go to a university? You kind of have an idea where you want to go and what you want to study,
but you don't have a choice
if it's blocked there, then you'll go somewhere else.
Not if it's $20,000 in tuition to go to Gainesville and $40,000 to go out of state, right? So that's to me that would be the issue. I think they know this. I think they know that the majority of the high school students in Florida that were intending to go to Florida universities are stuck.
Perhaps, but I would love to have.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with it.
I would love to have as full a course catalog as possible because
Well, sure.
and maybe it's just me, but I'm happy to study stuff that I completely and utterly disagree with just because I think
the
it's
point of studying,
intellectually challenging, and sometimes those people are fascinating.
Well, they are.
to
Don't you think
listen
part of this too is just it's all disingenuous? I mean, how many students are in a gender studies program if you add up the 5 or 6 biggest
Not many.
universities total? I don't know, but 1,500 people maybe between 5 or 6 schools. I mean, what, a couple hundred in a school, if that, like in gender studies, right? So
Somebody will say, if that's what you want to major in, why are you going to school anyway?
so why? But right, but why do you care about
We're getting to the point that if you're going to go to
1,200 people? They're not going to swing an election.
if you're going to go to a university, it's going to be something for an advanced degree, right? You're going to see. Don't you see undergraduates dropping out more often?
Well, I know that getting a degree in English and
That's useless.
Psychology,
Communications, useless.
It's not
No,
like it,
not at all. I know a guy.
it's not useless in terms of you understanding the world, but it's not like it was when we were all young. We could go get a liberal arts degree and walk into a corporation.
Yeah.
Because you could read and write, right? I mean, those were the things they wanted the most.
Yeah, but you hear people now talking about we need the soft skills, we need the people skills. So we got all the guys who can run the algorithms, and we have all the women who know how to do the math and everything like that, but they can't relate to other people. So I do think they need people who can read and write. And I know a guy, communications degree from Michigan State. He was the president of Dow Chemical. I'm like, how'd you go from comms?
Where'd you go afterwards?
To present? No, I think
You never got a master's?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think that was pretty common, right?
Was. I don't think it's going to, because more people will go to university now.
I don't know.
It's almost like having a high school degree, what that was 70 years ago.
Well, what about this congressman from, is it Tennessee?
The cost of it, too.
We found out he just had a general studies degree when he said it was in international relations. He's like baby George Santos.
Yeah, but that's an elected position, so who cares?
No, I know, but I mean, this is a guy who did get a general studies degree and is trying to pass it off as something more. I mean,
well, I will say this: if we are going to head more towards just engineering or any kind of science or the hard degrees, and that the way we use hard, that way you say soft and soft skills, that is going to change our society over time. If we have fewer and fewer people just going in studying history, psychology, literature, English, Russian, whatever it is, that will, to me, over time, change how we operate as a society if we're just going to dismiss the liberal arts, which has been a bedrock of Western civilization since the beginning of it.
Yeah.
If we're going to decide we don't care about that as a society, that will have a pretty profound effect over time.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I tend to think there's a pendulum swing effect where these things change, where everybody becomes all techie, and then they get rich, and then they start subsidizing the arts, and then the arts become viable, and then it kind of swings back. I mean,
Usually too far back, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, the Republican Party in Michigan, for all intents and purposes, is defunct. And what's going to happen is the Democrats are going to overreach, and then the Republican Party will have a purge, and then it'll be formed again, and then the Democrats will get run out.
Yeah,
it's just going to.
No, you're right. It does swing back, but if we forget
just
about
like in the wild, if there are too many deers, the coyote population flourishes, and when there's too many coyotes, there aren't enough deer, and then the coyotes start to die
But speaking of animals, what separates us if we forget liberal arts and art and all of that, then we're beavers, right? We're just building, and we're
animal analogies
and we're
here
nice,
today,
and we're animals, and that's cool that we can build, but we're no different than any other species at that point. It's just survival. It's pure survival. That's all it is.
The problem with universities for a long time was the paradox of the individual, right? Where, and under the Obama administration, we want everybody to go to college. Well, it's not good for a society for everybody to go to university. Some people can do trades, which our trades were really low after that.
Yeah,
right?
that wasn't a philosophy major who got my Riviera on the road. I'll tell you that.
But
now.
who's going to tell? I'm not going to tell my kids they're not.
No, but what you do want is anybody that wants to go to college to be able to go to college, and then maybe you could argue that high school should be a year longer, whatever, so you can teach a little bit more of these sort of understanding of the world and history and how we got here and all that, so everybody has some fundamental understanding of that.
But not everybody has to go.
Yeah,
No, not to college,
and
but
therefore go into debt.
It's done that way in other countries, right? Where you go to school a little bit longer, or your school year's a little bit longer. You go 10 months instead of 9,
or
whatever, and you learn a little bit more ahead of time. Then when you get to 19 or 20, you go fix Rivieras because absolutely, society has to have that.
I think the Riviera is essential to any healthy society.
Yeah.
But the other thing is a lot of this tech, what's it being done? It's being done to support entertainment. I mean, our phones are faster because we want to write, because we want to watch things. So I think even the hard skills provide an opportunity for the soft skills and for the creators, for the people who want to make things. I mean, a lot of the internet is for makers, Etsy, eBay, other sites where people are selling their products, things that they've made. So technology and these liberal arts, these creative types, there can be an intersection,
an overlap a little bit.
And at some point, if all Netflix was doing TED Talks with a bunch of gearheads, I don't think they'd be selling any subscriptions. So they do have to work in tandem. There has to be a little bit of a symbiotic relationship there. And at some point, if the universities aren't producing people or people don't see a way to go to college and say, well, how can I learn to be a writer? How can I become a visual artist? Then, then there's going to, I think there'll always be a place for that. Unfortunately, there seems to be a move to take anybody who has a belief or an interest in something that's not considered to be right down the middle of the road mainstream to somehow vilify them or make them seem like they're undermining our society. And hey man, to me the weirder the better. I think that's what makes life interesting. I'd rather go to the City Club or the Shelter than to I don't know, the Royal Oak Music Theater and watch Bruce Springsteen cover band or something.
No, I'm with you on that. By the way, how many high schools still have garages? Because mine did, and you could take
not enough.
Auto shop.
Even Grosse Pointe South had it.
I learned how to wire a box in high school. In my physical high school building, I learned how to wire up an outlet box.
Is that a euphemism?
How to use a sander.
Is this a prom story?
No, but I think that the vocations in high school. I mean, why don't we do that anymore?
Oh shit, man!
I mean,
it was the best way to get your brakes changed, your oil changed, and a new muffler on your car was go to the industrial arts building.
Life skill.
And turn it over.
No, it's all sorts of life skills. My pop taught me a lot, but not everybody has a pop, and not everybody has a pop that can teach you stuff.
My dad didn't teach me any of that stuff.
So high school,
I learned it all from YouTube. When I have to fix stuff.
And I still learn from YouTube for sure, but you get a base of knowledge in high school, yeah, that'd be great.
Well, plus, it's also a chance for some of those people with the pink sweaters to interact with some of the guys from the escort who were wearing the denim jackets with the fog hat logo.
Of course, we also what also do we have back in those days? We had smoking commons.
Yeah, let's bring back smoking.
Can you imagine? I mean,
now you were a smoker, weren't you?
I was. Did your high schools have an area where you could duck out the door right in the hallway, and there's
the escort,
and there'd be 100 kids out there smoking at lunch.
Yeah, all wearing Jim Morrison Lives patches on their jacket, and then there were a bunch of preppies. It was the one place where everybody. It was where the Socs and the and Pony Boy would meet.
No, you're right, because the prepsters like smoking too. They smoked, right? Yeah,
sure. Yeah, very nervously too.
I had a friend who,
or they were jacked up on coke.
I had a friend who went to what?
In 1985, that's absolutely what was happening.
I had a friend who went to community college, and I remember going, "Well, how is it? What's it like?" And he goes, "It's like high school with smoking." Like, what? That's a weird description.
Probably a better cafeteria.
Actually, I went to community college for a bit too, and I loved it.
Nothing wrong with it. It was good.
Great. It was great. My boys did. They started out that way.
Options are good.
They loved it.
Yeah.
They liked being in a classroom too with older people. They thought that was great. And by older to them, they were in a classroom with somebody who's 27, and they're 18, right? And they just...
You know what? It works the other way, too.
They were in a classroom with Joel McHale.
I had a friend who, after his junior year at Michigan, got a really good job that made money. So he's like, well, I'm not going to go back to college, which... Then he just got hammered on for years for not having a degree from all of us who had degrees from, Michigan, Michigan State, Central. All the friends just hammered him for not having a degree. So he went back to get his degree, and he loved being the old guy in class because you know a lot more about how the world works and everything.
Well, I didn't graduate until I was 28, so I had that experience myself. Yeah.
You can buy.
That's the other part, yeah.
And if people want to party,
the women are younger too.
yeah, exactly. Well, we don't have a dormitory. Let's come to my house. Like, dude, you got a house? I got a house. There's beer in it.
It wasn't quite
You got
like that.
beer in your house?
It wasn't quite like that for me.
You're
but,
awesome.
But I did enjoy being an older student in a classroom.
That's
yeah.
great.
Well, before we get to Geek of the Week, why don't we help people with a little bit of advice? I think this is a good time for us to share maybe.
Oh, there's not a little
life
segment that would
lessons.
allow for a bathroom break? Okay.
No, but we're old guys.
We are
this
50
is,
minutes in. I'm
This is kind of community college of the air. We'll just knock these
It's a
out
long time for me.
real quick. If you guys want to help people,
Sure. Who wants to start? Fire away.
I'll start. Since it's my idea. Okay.
I don't have one, by the way.
Here. Just do this one.
Take a short one.
I just have feedback.
Here's a question that I call Adam's family values. My family is really dysfunctional. I've made peace with it except for when I date someone from a big, happy, close family, which just highlights the weirdness, such as when they ask what they think are harmless questions, and I'm left either dodging them or answering, no, I don't have a favorite food my mom makes because she stopped cooking after my dad threw a hot casserole at her when I was 9. So it's cold sandwich until I learned to cook.
Jeez.
Or, nope, I don't see my dad on Father's Day. My visit would interfere with his drinking. Or, no, we don't really have holiday traditions because my mom joined so many weird cults. At first, I tried telling the truth because a therapist once said to own my past, but that was so awkward. Lately, I've been dodging, and it's exhausting. So I've decided not to date anyone unless they come from a similar background. My friend says that's an incredibly limiting and self-destructive choice, but I don't see another option. Do you?
I don't know. You go ahead, Mark.
What's the exact question then? He wants to know.
So basically,
he's asked something like this.
Anytime I go to a family that's, quote unquote
Sure.
normal, which probably really means people aren't telling people who they really are because there's no such thing as a normal family. They feel uncomfortable telling about their own family's history.
Sure.
So now they're only going to look for dates in families with people who have a very shattered past.
Well, you're not dating.
How do you know that?
You're not dating the family. I mean,
how do you know
I gotta
that?
say this: if you date somebody and they have a quote unquote normal family and they ask you a question like that, just lie.
But how do you know that until you get in there? I mean, you don't know that.
Or
ahead
better
of
yet,
time.
if you start dating someone and they have a normal family and you're worried about that, why not tell the person you're dating?
What is
tell
a
them
normal
so
family?
so they know. Well, that's kind of that's why I'm doing. That's why I'm doing air quotes.
You're doing air quotes, yeah, because you don't want to know.
Which you can see if you're watching us on YouTube. You can
What?
subscribe to channel Soul of Detroit.
Future in-laws that are still together? Is that it?
No,
Is that what they mean?
No, they're basically saying, I need to know, if I'm going to date you, I pretty much need to establish early on that your family is totally screwed up.
I don't like that, though, because then you're closing yourself off to other opportunities of women you might.
Yeah, you don't know what a normal family is. People can be.
Everybody has a problem
Here's
with
a
their
guy
own
that comes
family.
in. Here's a dad that comes in and smiles, but he's crushing up Benadryl and putting it in toothpaste for sleepovers when his son's kids are coming over or whatever. I mean,
Well, that is quite a specific example. Where did you get that one from?
It made me think of the
digging deep into the archive there.
no. What was the movie? Was it one of those Todd?
It was a home
Todd,
movie. It's a Windsor home movie.
Todd Phillips?
Is that it? Yeah. God.
Welcome to the Dollhouse.
No. It was a movie in the '90s where I'm never going to think of the name of it. But you're watching this movie and you're going along, and all of a sudden a dad does something like that, and you just. Ugh.
Yeah, no, I
get
think
up and leave the
that's
theater.
that's a classic example of, we when you're staying over here, we want you to sleep in separate bedrooms. We're going to go to church on Sunday, blah blah, and then you walk into a closet and there's a bunch of sex toys and a bunch of gay porno mags, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought you were the really uptight Christian guy. I think the more normal people are, the more
the more secrets they have.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the freaks make me really comfortable because I'm like, this seems like who this person really is, for better or for worse. But the straight-laced ones, I'm like, how many dead cheerleaders are underneath?
Exactly.
Alex.
Father who did not allow me to touch myself, and not in a sexual way. No, just the most ordinary of touches. If I had to make pup in the toilet.
Is that the painter? Is that Bob Ross?
I would need to call my father and say, Dad, I've finished. May I please wipe? No! Don't put your finger in your asshole! That is your mother's domain! Yeah, God, there's a layer of toilet paper between my finger and my asshole. Very thin membrane. Dad, please! No! Don't touch it! Dad, I'm just trying to get the shit out of my ass. He'd say, keep it in there. That's where it ought to be. And when you're done, I'll send your mother in with the shit rag.
See, it can always be worse.
Yeah, you could be Will Forte.
That reminds me.
Are you
of the
stunned
great-
by that piece of audio, Sean?
And he's
No,
gonna,
no,
he's
no,
gonna,
it
he's
may
gonna
be-
need a throat rip.
It made me think of the the great line from George Carlin about washing your hands after taking a dump.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I'll wash them when I start wiping my ass with my hands and not toilet paper.
Like this?
I touch myself, I masturbate, and I wipe my butt almost every day with these guys.
So, Sean, I don't want to
I
take
digress.
I don't want to take us off track, but
Again.
on this Carlin thing, after every show, before you leave, you shake our hands. You don't subscribe to that, Carlin, because I know you take a break to go upstairs during the music segment, then you come back down, and then there's not really.
Oh, do I wash my hands after I? Yeah, of course I do.
Okay,
Yeah, right.
Okay, cool. All right.
Of course I do. Do you wash your hands after you touch yourself
I don't do that.
and then shake somebody's hand? So if you have to rearrange.
Wait, how many people
You
are
wash
walking
your-
around
you
touching their
wash-
junk and shaking hands?
No, what I'm saying is if you're somewhere, you're out, or you're at home, you haven't gone to the bathroom, you have to rearrange yourself before you go out. But you don't, do you wash your hands? Or the next time you see somebody, you shake your hands, the last thing your hand will touch other than your steering wheel.
Or your car door.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
nature. I mean, there's a lot of
But
things.
does it all rub off on the car door and everything else by the time you get to somebody else's hand? In other words, is it just homophobia?
I'm seriously reconsidering my notion. I'll invite my mom back on the show in May for Mother's
I
Day.
gotta tell you, there better be a chauffeur if I'm ever riding with you, because I'm not opening that car door.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to use my foot to open your car door now.
No, but that's a
You're gonna
legitimate
need
question.
No, it's not. It's not a legitimate
So do you
question.
wash your hands every time you touch yourself?
I wash my hands frequently. I touch myself rarely.
You never rearrange yourself? No. Okay.
So I guess we disagree that you should only date dysfunctional families. I guess that's the answer.
So you're
And let me just tell you,
you're perfectly proportioned, and you never.
if you do decide to only date really weird families, the Windsors have a generator, so you may want to check that out. Some very joyous holidays can be celebrated in their bunker.
Well, now I'm scared of Sean's answer to this question.
do you wash your hands after you masturbate?
Do I wash my hands after I masturbate?
Well, I'm already in the shower.
You're making some presumptions there. Yeah,
That's a good answer.
yeah, exactly.
Thank
Yeah, there's not a sink in my car.
I just killed Sean.
You know,
I'm already.
my white van doesn't have a comfort station when it's parked by the.
already in the shower. Did you hear Mark?
You know, and Mark.
I thought that was a good answer.
He's already. It's a great answer.
When Mark said we're 50 minutes in, I should have seized on that. That was a terrible strategic mistake for me to,
I'm scared
to
of
forge
I'm
ahead.
scared of Sean's answer to this question that came in. So this is the next piece of advice. Some good friends of ours, a husband and a wife, have a painting of the wife in their living room, just the wife. The painting is a nude from her much younger days. It's not erotic, but it's very large, very explicit, and detailed. She's looking at the viewer with a direct challenge. When we visit, we're always taken to this room. I've asked to go to another room or to the garden. Well, that's kind of awkward in and of itself. But my hostess says she loves to entertain in that room because of the sea view, the view of the water, which it does have. Which first off, I don't believe that.
Yeah. Surprised the painting's not covering a window.
It doesn't seem that there's any polite way to avoid the giant nude, short of not visiting at all. Can you think of a way? I think the best thing to do is go, hey, is that you? And just bring it out in the open.
Yeah, or just
talk
say,
about it, right?
What happened to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, that's quite a detailed painting of your genitals there. I mean, if you expose it, right? Is it awkward anymore? No, it's awkward for that second. As opposed to trying to avoid it. That's ridiculous. If you enjoy the company in the view of the water, then whatever.
I have to interrupt because
ignore it. Don't
Matt has posted a comment on YouTube that says one day Sean woke up and looked like Vic Tayback with glasses. Vic Tayback, talk about a deep cut.
Yeah, it's a little dated reference, but he's not wrong. Anyway,
Sean is way better looking than Vic Tayback.
so I had when I bought
Are we
my
talking about the cook?
Yeah, from Alice.
yeah.
I wish his voice is a little deeper than even mine.
You got a pretty deep voice.
Don't.
It's from all that
why do
dirty
you
handed masturbating.
care? Why do you care about the painting? You know, it's just it's there. You
Well,
look
makes
at
them
it. You
makes
don't.
them uncomfortable.
Why? Okay.
I want to know whether she sits
That's
under
like
it.
you guys. Why would you be uncomfortable with that? Whatever.
Would I be uncomfortable? No, I'd absolutely talk.
No,
about
because
it.
you just said to shower. So I know you're
I would totally just talk about.
you're
Hey, is that
okay.
you?
You're okay with yourself. You know what I mean? I'm not sure about Mike, but you are. So that's good. You're comfortable with yourself.
I think I'm comfortable with myself.
You're
at all.
comfortable. You are more than you realize.
Yeah.
That's good.
I deflect.
Mark and I shower together, so I'm perfectly comfortable.
considered-
and which one of you washes?
It's high-powered rinse, but
I do want to say this. So when I bought regarding the letter, when I bought my first house, I had a famous poster, and you might know who this guy is, who does the nude people. Usually around Ann Arbor, right? They'll just strip their clothes and they'll take a picture of them in Nichols Arcade or on the Diag or whatever. I can't.
wait, they get naked at the arcade?
Yeah, they just draw. And the reason I had it is because we had him in studio. He took pictures of women in our studio and showed how he did it. You know, this is hell, 1990.
You mean WRAF studio? You're not.
Riff.
You don't have a place in your house where you have naked women getting
Back
a
in
picture.
our more misogynistic days.
I think Julie would not be
Well, no,
cool with that.
They're guys. There were guys and women, but there was a real famous photo that he took of these people around the Rock, right? You know, in Ann Arbor, right at Washington Hill.
And where they rock?
No, because the idea
Cold
is
out.
it's artistic
I get
BS, right? Probably had a liberal arts degree. And so he took this picture, and that was his best-selling poster, and I had it in my house for the longest time. Not even thinking when my mom came over to visit and then brought my nieces. And
Why do we always go with
that
the
they would
moms?
see it-
So
see
they're
it posted.
asexual. The moms are asexual. They've never seen a
Oh,
naked
my mom
body.
didn't care, but she had my nieces.
Oh, okay.
My niece
All right.
with
Well, I
her.
guess that's a little bit different.
There's a big difference between going to a home and there's a nude painting, and then going to a home and there's a nude painting of your hostess, and she's looking at
Agreed.
you in the painting like what you looking at,
Agreed.
and she may be sitting under the painting with eyes on you like what you looking at, eyes
That's
up
why you
here.
have to talk about it.
Here's my
Yeah.
question. Here's my question.
I don't think I would go back. That's
Here's
all
my
I'm
question. I guess this is specifically for Mark. Does Mike wash your back when you're in the shower? Because that could be very helpful.
saying. Loofah.
Okay, you know what I mean? That's very helpful. No wonder you shower together.
He also
Get that-
shaves it, too.
Get that
My
back. Oh, your butt. Your
My
back.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
That's me
You
with
get your mind out of the gutter, mister.
I need the back of my arms shaved
All right,
at this
one more.
at this point.
One more. Go ahead.
I think we know which part of the movie Spartacus you're watching over and over again.
one
My
more. 'Cause
master likes oysters.
Sean
and
has to go to the bathroom. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
During a trip to Las Vegas, I kind of had a one. I kind of. That's interesting. I kind of. Did you or didn't you?
Just a tip.
Had a one night stand. I'm in a relationship. I felt bad afterward. Problem is, I started having feelings for this guy. Quote Leo. Is that an astrological sign?
We only have the information provided.
We would message back and forth, more on my end than his. I guess you could say I was hung up on him. I have since mended my relationship with my partner. My issue is Leo is best friends with my best friend's husband. When he visits, I'm excluded, which means I can't hang out with her. I tell her we are all adults, we are not in high school, and can be in the same room with each other. It's not fair to me. Are my feelings justified? Any advice?
Wait. Well, I gotta say she's making it all about herself. So wait, did she imply that she told everybody or everybody?
Yeah,
knows?
that's not clear. It's not clear. By mending with her partner,
Then
does
you
that
figure the
mean
partner knows.
that means it all came out in the open and everybody knows? I don't know.
Well, if that's the case, then yeah, just fucking cut them off. Get rid of them. Cut it out of your life. Don't go over there.
When yeah, because you have a lot of other opportunities to see your best friend, right? Is that
Exactly. Yeah.
kind of that's the
You know,
simplest
why,
thing? No.
Why make it awkward for everybody because you're the one that wants to go?
Yeah, plus you're
It's
still
all- it's an
sending
awful
messages. It's like, hey,
it's
is
a
this
very
over or is this
selfish-
not?
Plus, when you're hung up on somebody or you have feelings, I mean, it's hard to shut that. I mean, that kind of has to go away on its own, right? Doesn't it? It's hard to shut that off yourself.
If you keep seeing that person, yeah. Well, I'm just going with the selfish aspect of it.
Yeah,
so my question is, maybe she wants to keep going over there because there's still some feeling for
yeah,
him.
exactly.
Of course.
I gave up chocolate for Lent, and there's some dark chocolate and coconut covered almonds in the freezer. I can't even open the freezer because all I'm thinking is, boy, it sure looks good. I'm just pretending there's no chocolate.
Yeah, you might eventually, over the course of 20 years, decide you don't need chocolate. You can do without it. But in the moment, or for a while, yeah, you have to let that process settle.
Humans are weak.
Yeah, stop.
Either that or the heart is strong. I mean, or maybe both.
Oh my god.
Damn it. All of a sudden got profound and beautiful. I didn't see that coming. No, stay away from Leo.
But one person's weakness is another person's love. You know, that's how it goes.
Boners are weak too.
Plus, maybe out of respect for your partner, you don't want this.
Well, that's what I mean.
This fool that you diddled around with hanging out. I'd be like,
or that person's.
I got to punch
partner
this guy
or
in the
friends.
face.
Yeah.
Although, hey, we all saw About a Boy, and everybody's got former people together hanging out at Christmas and Thanksgiving, and you know, we see plenty of movies where families split families. This person had an affair. This one they divorced. They're back together. You know, whatever. Everybody eventually comes together and breaks bread, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, but it sounds like the other people in this situation aren't. Everybody has to be comfortable with it.
Yeah,
for sure.
The problem is that they came together before they showed up at my house. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah, don't think about it. Like that painting. Like that painting.
Yeah, no, Leo's out. That's it.
So Mark really uses a loofah, or no, you use a loofah on him.
No. Boy, it's always awkward to go from a moment like this to really decent people like Luke Nowacki and David Hall, who don't countenance this kind of foolishness. But we should probably tell you about some people.
Very important message.
Whose advice is better than ours.
Yeah. The first one will start with Hall Financial. If you have a lot of debt, like say credit card debt, what are you paying, 25% or something? Cut that down. Get your debt consolidated. One of the people that can help you is Hall Financial. Call Hall Financial first, 866-CALL-HALL, or chat with them online at callhallfirst.com. They can provide you a free 5-minute mortgage review, right? And that's all it's going to take to see how much money you have in your home equity that you can then pull out to pay off other loans. There's a lot of stuff they can do so you're not paying so much on those loans. So once again, Hall Financial, if you're calling to purchase if you want to purchase a new home or refinance your current home or take money out of the home, it's 866-CALL-HALL, or chat with them online at callhallfirst.com. And the other guy, speaking of money, that's going to help you is Luke Nowacki. You got to have a plan, right? If you're going to make a big purchase now or even down the road, you got to have your money in order to figure out what you're going to have now, what you're going to have in the future. You got to have goals. Luke Nowacki, he's got a whole team at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies who can help you plan for all those goals. So call Luke today, 248-663-4748. He's going to give you a complimentary consultation to see if your plans align with your goals. Once again, 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke, it's not about Leo. It's all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRAS-IPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
So have you guys seen these ads for him?
Oh, yeah.
For hers?
Yeah. They run all the time during sports.
Yeah, and there's one in particular, the For Hers ones. There's a very lovely, big, beautiful woman who is depressed, and she has a cute little dog.
Aww.
And she goes online, and she gets some medication, and depression's gone. She feels happiness. She feels
so easy.
She feels joy. It's just gone like that. And there's no mention that sometimes when you get medication, it's not the quite one. It can cause really wild mood swings, and you should be very closely monitored. But so anyways, she goes to this website, and her life is turned around. And then
Are you a Scientologist?
No. I'm saying you should be supervised. You should have psychiatric care, a medical professional who you talk to on a regular basis.
They would not believe in that. Yeah,
just asking.
And then the lovely local, is it Kristen Bell, comes on, who is just the opposite. She's probably size 0 in a dress, and she's
wealthy,
bummed out.
very famous. Yeah,
and she's got 5 versions of herself, but they're all depressed, and they call for hers. And
it can happen to anybody.
And they get some medication, and all 5 of them are good. Maybe she's schizophrenic because she has so many personalities. But anyways, for hers, as far as the world's concerned, women are just nuts. But the ads for him,
true.
I need hair and I need a boner, and they just see the world as guys are out, and then they and then anxiety. It's like, so women are nuts, and they can get some medication. Guys maybe anxious, but mostly we're worried about our rug and our tackle. And if you call for hims, you call them and they fix everything. And I just think that whole
that we're
business.
past that.
Well, it first of all, it's not that easy to get help if you're struggling. You should get help. And guys, you should not be ashamed of needing help if you're feeling depressed or anxious or anything like that. We all do. And help is healthy. But this worldview that women are crazy and need a pill, guys are flaccid and need a pill.
Now, see, I take that message as
and everything will be fine.
The cause of most male depression is the fact that they're either bald or can't get hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that they're.
So you solve one of those problems, then we'll get to the depression part.
Which, of course, isn't true.
That's why you're anxious.
I'd be happy if I figured out how to put an outhouse with a proper stack in the bunker.
Yeah, no, Sean
then
is.
we'll really be set.
Sean is sitting here happy as a clam with a priapism, so it's not true at all. But I just think that whole notion that they're selling the for hims, for hers is just totally fallacious. It's misleading.
It's an ad.
It's dangerous. It's chauvinistic. And so,
hey, if you want to get hard, though.
Yeah. So as someone who is sick of seeing their snake oil ads, I've decided to make them our Geek of the Week, and I feel better.
Good.
See you guys.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
As we close out Black History Month here in room 7609, we feature one more act that has a prominent black member, a gentleman named Don Letts, who was a producer, was a director, did some videos for The Clash way back when, and then after The Clash fell apart, he joined up with Mick Jones, the guitarist and co-lead vocalist of The Clash, to form a band called Big Audio Dynamite. Now, they put out one of the best albums of all times. This is Big Audio Dynamite. And the reason it stands out is because Don Letts and his sampling skills made it unlike anything we'd heard before. And this is Medicine Show from Big Audio Dynamite.